This is a piece that I translated from Old Irish into English, but that literal translation, like all literal translations, was boring and pedantic. So I rewrote that into English language poetry. It's a Din Senkas, which is a story of how a place got its name, and it's a remskele. It's one of the introductory tales that comes before the bulk of the Toynbee Cúilnge, and it explains a curse that is on the men of Ulster that is very important. And above all of those things, it teaches a very important lesson that you must learn. If you fail to learn it, things are going to go badly for you, so learn it. Crunic Mac Adnolwyn, hosteler, is father to 4 fame-bound sons, each a war-hungry hero of the Ulaid. Father and sons tend hostel and holdings and host the traveling warriors and bards on the rocky coast of Moyle's Sea. But Crunic suffers a pain well known among his kinsmen. Ulster has need of warriors, and warriors grow from sons who sometimes come so strong and stubborn from the womb that their earliest resting place sheds 2 souls with their birthing. Thus had Crunic's wife died as she was delivered of their youngest. His last vision of her saw her taut, moon-white breast loosen as she fed her bawling, life-greedy child once, until not just her belly, but her body was empty of life. And for the span of time between his red son's birth and the boy's second bloodletting, Crunic has slept singly. Crunic tends his paling as he watches a live woman approach his dwelling. Glistening linen drapes her ripened form, newly woven, strong, and dyed deeply, red gold hanging from ear and braid, clinging to nape and wrist, waist wrapped in bronze chain, finely wrought, ankles flashing under skirt with each step. Her beauty so great as to still the tongue and move the groin, all in the one glance. The woman strides proudly into Crunic's hall, sits at his hearth, and stokes the fire from smolder to blaze, all the while silent. Bewildered, Crunic stands dumb, fearing to blink or breathe, only staring in wonder. The sun sets and the woman rises, picking utensils from the hearth and preparing a meal as if the kitchen is her own. Crunic and his son sit at table, eat the feast before them, and hold their tongues, for fear she will vanish, and that 6th chair will again sit empty, as it did for so many seasons. They fill their bellies and clean their plates, and Crunic's sons retreat to their rooms silently. The woman walks to Crunic's bed, where she waits. He approaches cautiously, searching for protest or rejection in her eyes or lips. Finding none, he lays with the woman as he once laid with his son's mother. In the night, her name comes to him as they rustle the sheets, her lips open and release. Macha, the breath of love itself. The sound soothes Crunic and he sleeps. Macha and Crunic live thus for several seasons, sharing plate, bed, home, and family. She is wife to Crunic, second mother to his sons, and wonder to those passing boatmen who catch glimpses of her, staring seaward from the high chalk cliffs above. Under Macha's attention, Crunic's corn grows fuller, his sows and kine fatten, his nets find more fish, and his sons grow to be among the strongest men of the Ulaid. Fortune flocks to Macha and her kin, and soon Macha herself grows with the mark of their bedwork, and her back bows forward with the weight of a great pregnancy. Macha's tongue loosens to sing her bliss, finding the family she has knitted herself happy. Now, Bealtain's great festival calls Crunic forth out of their private reverie to Ulster's raucous celebration, anxious to stand among kinsmen and share their cups. Macha, weary of the journey, warns Crunic to hold both pride and tongue. Speak to no man of me, for if you arouse the wrath of the Ulaid with boasting and bravado, we will find no peace, and our home and family will melt like so much snow in the spring. Crunic soothes Macha and sets out for the gathering, and Macha rests fitfully under the twinned burdens of pregnancy and work. Arriving at the festival, Crunic holds his secret tight as he greets friends and rivals, but as the day has passed, so are the cups. and soon Crynic's bond to Macha fades from his mind. Ulster's king calls for races, and his chariots win handily, he bragging all the while that his horses have the swiftest feet of any beasts living. Crynic, full of spirits, answers, "My bride could outrun your horses, and she full up with my child." The king rushes forward in anger, demanding Crynic deliver up his wife to fulfill his rashly uttered bond. Crynic blanches, recognizing his betrayal of Macha. He begs the king's pardon and his patience, but the king will not be appeased, and his men fetch Macha from her home. She, grave, protests, asking for a stay, for patience that lasts the length of her delivery. The men pull her from the threshold with no answer to her pleas. Riding forward into the king's land, her labor comes on, harder than the gallop of their steeds. The child in her womb scrambling for freedom, a respite from this jarring trek. The king demands her name on arrival, and she, red-faced, proclaims, "I am Macha, daughter of Sunrith MacImvath. None of you will escape my curse today, for each man here was born of woman. Your lives a product of mother's toil, yet neither king nor crowd will lend me mercy in my time of need." The scornful king laughs, saying, "Refuse to race, and I will rend Crynic to pieces and drop him into my wallows as food for swine. And then who will play father to your mewling babe?" Macha complies and walks to the starting line, the child squirming in her belly, round as the fullest moon. Racing hard, Macha quickly outstrips the horse, whose heart bears no match for the one in Macha's breast. Crossing the finish line, the water in her breaks, and the horse's heart explodes. Both fall in the dust. And as Macha rises with two beautiful sons at her breasts, the men about her fall, overtaken by a pain they do not fathom. Eowyn Macha is the name now on this place, for the twins born so well, though without aid, surrounded by merciless men. For as it is here I suffer the indignity of your trials, so it is here my sons and I prevail. Each of you small men, and all of your sons, for 9 generations, will suffer my pangs for 4 days and 5 nights, whenever threat or trial come to the Ulave. And so speaking, Macha turned to rejoin her kinsman she. So it is the men of Ulster are crippled whenever their lands are threatened. Only the man-child Cahulin is spared this pain, and he so loved and hated by Macha and her sister selves, Bodv and Anu, 3 bound as one, and the great queen, Morrigan.